Alex Turner was a force in the cybersecurity world. He was a protector, a digital shield. His mind was a fortress, impenetrable to even the most cunning hackers. He worked for Cyber Fortress, a company dedicated to keeping data safe. They were the best, and Alex was their top defender. He thrived on challenges. He neutralized threats before they even materialized. But this time, something felt different. This time, he was up against a phantom, a digital ghost leaving no trace. This hacker, known only as Phantom, was wreaking havoc. Major tech companies were falling victim. Their defenses were no match. Alex was tasked with stopping this invisible enemy. The weight of the digital world rested on his shoulders. He was determined to succeed. Failure was not an option. The breaches were like nothing Alex had seen. They were surgical, precise, and utterly silent. Phantom moved through systems like a ghost. No alarms, no traces, just vanished data. The first attack was a warning shot, then another bolder, more damaging. Each breach was more sophisticated. Alex and his team were baffled. They were always one step behind. The pressure was on. Clients were getting anxious. Cyber Fortress's reputation was at stake. Alex knew he had to adapt. He needed to understand Phantom. To think like them, he immersed himself in the data, searching for any clue. Then a breakthrough, a tiny anomaly, easy to overlook. It was a single compromised email account. The password was laughably simple. Password 123. The simplicity was almost mocking. Password 123. Alex stared at the screen, a mixture of disbelief and frustration washing over him. It was almost too easy. Had Phantom really exploited such a basic flaw? He dug deeper, analyzing the compromised account. It belonged to a senior executive, someone with access to sensitive information. The executive had fallen for a classic phishing scam. A cleverly disguised email, a sense of urgency, and boom, the door was wide open. This wasn't just about technical prowess, it was about exploiting human weakness. Phantom understood that the easiest way in was often through the front door, disguised as a welcome guest. Alex realized he was dealing with a master manipulator, someone who understood both the technical and psychological aspects of cybersecurity. The simplicity of the initial breach was a stark reminder that even the most sophisticated systems were vulnerable to the human element. Alex knew that this single compromised account was just the tip of the iceberg. Phantom had used it as a stepping stone, a launching pad for a much deeper infiltration. He had to move quickly to understand the extent of the breach and, more importantly, to anticipate Phantom's next move. He assembled his team, their faces etched with a mixture of concern and determination. The hunt was on. The team worked tirelessly, analyzing logs, tracing data packets, and reconstructing the attack. The deeper they dug, the more impressed they became with Phantom's skill. Every trace was meticulously covered, every move calculated. It was like chasing a ghost through a digital maze. The walls constantly shifting, the path ahead unclear. Phantom used a combination of cutting-edge hacking tools and social engineering techniques. They exploited vulnerabilities in software, manipulated employees into revealing confidential information, and always seemed to be one step ahead. Alex, however, refused to be intimidated. He thrived under pressure. He pushed his team harder, urging them to think like the enemy, to anticipate Phantom's next move. He knew that to catch a Phantom, he had to become one himself. He spent hours studying Phantom's methods, looking for patterns, for any shred of information that could lead him to the hacker's identity. He was like a detective piecing together a complex jigsaw puzzle, each new piece bringing him closer to the bigger picture. Days turned into nights as Alex and his team worked tirelessly. The pressure was immense, but so was their determination. They were the guardians of the digital realm, and they would not rest until Phantom was brought to justice. The chase was exhilarating, a battle of wits between two masterminds. As Alex delved deeper into the labyrinthine trail left by Phantom, he began to notice a recurring pattern. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there. A unique string of characters embedded within the malware used in each attack. It was a calling card, a digital fingerprint that Phantom couldn't erase. The discovery sent a jolt of excitement through Alex. It was the break they had been waiting for, a tangible clue that could lead them to their elusive target. He instructed his team to focus all their efforts on analyzing the code, to trace its origins, to find out who had created it. The code was complex, obfuscated, and designed to evade detection. But Alex was relentless. He spent countless hours poring over the lines of code, his fingers flying across the keyboard. He was like a code whisperer, able to understand the language of machines. He knew that within that code lay the key to unmasking Phantom. His intuition told him that the hacker was not just technically gifted but also arrogant, leaving this subtle mark as if to taunt those who pursued them. The trail led to an underground hacking forum, a digital den of thieves and mischief makers. It was a dangerous place full of traps and pitfalls. Alex knew he had to tread carefully. One wrong move could alert Phantom, sending them deeper into the shadows. He assumed a new identity, creating a digital mask to blend in. He became Ghostwalker, a skilled but unknown hacker eager to prove himself. He spent weeks infiltrating the forum, gaining the trust of its members, slowly earning his place among them. He observed, he listened, he learned the language of the underworld. He was searching for any mention of Phantom, any clue to their real identity. He needed to draw them out, to make them slip up. He started small, boasting about minor exploits, dropping hints about his skills. He needed to attract attention, to pique Phantom's interest. He knew Phantom frequented the forum, their digital signature or calling card. Alex needed to make contact, to engage them, to earn their trust. It was a dangerous game, a high-stakes poker match where the ante was his own anonymity. But Alex was confident. He had faced down digital predators before. He knew their weaknesses, their vanities, their insatiable egos. He would use their arrogance against them. The hunt was far from over, but the walls were closing in. Alex crafted his messages carefully, each one a calculated risk. He needed to appear confident but not arrogant, skilled but not a threat. He knew Phantom was watching, studying his every move. He couldn't afford to make a mistake, one slip, one wrong word, and Phantom would disappear like a ghost in the night. Then a breakthrough, a private message, a single line, "You're good." But are you good enough? It was Phantom. The game was on. Alex felt a surge of adrenaline. He had them hooked. Now he needed to reel them in. He engaged Phantom in conversation, carefully steering the conversation, probing for weaknesses, looking for an opening. He discovered Phantom's obsession with a particular tech company, a company they believed had wronged them. This was the key, the motive, the fuel for their vendetta. Alex knew he could use this information, but he had to tread carefully. He couldn't let Phantom suspect he was being played. One wrong move could send them into hiding, their vendetta turning into something even more dangerous. Alex planted a seed, a rumor about a vulnerability in the tech company system. He knew Phantom wouldn't be able to resist. It was the perfect bait, playing on their ego, their desire for revenge. He watched as Phantom took the bait, their excitement palpable through their messages. They were eager, overconfident, ready to strike. Alex had anticipated this. He had already alerted the tech company, strengthening their defenses, setting a trap. He was channeling Phantom, leading them down a carefully constructed path. He gave them just enough rope to hang themselves to make them believe they were in control. As Phantom launched their attack, they walked straight into the trap, the digital equivalent of a steel cage slamming shut. Alex had them. He could feel Phantom's frustration, their rage as they realized they had been played. Their messages became frantic, desperate, but it was too late. The game was over. Alex watched as Phantom thrashed against the digital net he had woven. Their frustration was palpable, their digital cries of anger echoing through the lines of code. But Alex felt no joy, no sense of triumph, only a grim satisfaction that the hunt was nearing its end. He had Phantom right where he wanted them. Their digital escape routes were cut off, their every move tracked, their options dwindling with each passing second. Alex knew he couldn't let up, not yet. He had to keep the pressure on to maintain the element of surprise. He coordinated with Cyber Fortress's team, their synchronized efforts flowing seamlessly across the digital battlefield. They moved with precision, their keystrokes a symphony of calculated actions, each one bringing them closer to their target. The trap had been sprung, but the capture was far from over. Phantom was resourceful, their skills undeniable. Alex expected a counterattack, a desperate attempt to break free. He had to anticipate their next move, to stay one step ahead in this high-stakes game of cat and mouse. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife as Alex and his team waited for Phantom's next move, their eyes glued to their screens, their fingers hovering over their keyboards, ready to react in an instant. With Phantom's digital escape routes blocked, Alex focused on tracing their physical location. It was a painstaking process, sifting through layers of encrypted connections, bouncing signals off distant servers, each hop bringing him closer to the heart of Phantom's lair. He worked tirelessly, fueled by adrenaline and a burning desire to bring this digital menace to justice. The trail led to a nondescript apartment building on the outskirts of the city. Alex shared the location with the authorities, his heart pounding in his chest as he watched a SWAT team surround the building. He had done his part, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. There was a quiet stillness to the operation that set his teeth on edge. The raid was swift, the element of surprise total. But as the officers stormed the apartment, they found it empty. The only sign of Phantom's presence, a single laptop left open on a desk, its screen displaying a mocking message. "You were close, Ghostwalker, but the game is far from over." Alex's blood ran cold. He had been played. Phantom had anticipated his every move, using the raid as a distraction, a way to vanish without a trace. The weight of Alex's failure settled heavily on his shoulders. Phantom was still out there, their vendetta unsatisfied, their thirst for chaos unquenched. He had come so close, only to be outsmarted at the last moment. The victory he had tasted turned to ashes in his mouth. He had allowed his pursuit of Phantom to consume him, blinding him to the possibility that he was being played. The hunt for Phantom had become personal. Alex had stared into the abyss of the digital underworld and had been found wanting. He had let down Cyber Fortress, his team, and himself. The weight of responsibility was a heavy burden to bear. He knew he had to redeem himself, to bring Phantom to justice, not just for the sake of the companies they had targeted, but for his own peace of mind. He retreated into his work, immersing himself in the digital world, determined to learn from his mistakes. He would not allow himself to be outsmarted again. He spent hours analyzing the data, searching for any clue, any trace that he might have missed. He knew Phantom was out there, watching his every move, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Despite the setback, Alex's experience with Phantom had a profound impact on Cyber Fortress. He instituted mandatory cybersecurity awareness training for all employees, emphasizing the importance of strong, unique passwords and vigilance against phishing attacks. He knew that the human element was often the weakest link in any security system. He worked tirelessly to strengthen the company's defenses, implementing multi-factor authentication, intrusion detection systems, and regular security audits. He was determined to make Cyber Fortress an impenetrable fortress, a digital sanctuary in a world increasingly reliant on technology. His efforts did not go unnoticed. Cyber Fortress became known as the gold standard in cybersecurity, their reputation for vigilance and expertise unmatched. Alex's experience with Phantom had taught him a valuable lesson, that the battle against cybercrime was never truly over. It was a constant arms race, a game of cat and mouse played out in the digital realm. He knew that Phantom was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike again. But he was ready for them. He would spend the rest of his career honing his skills, strengthening his defenses, and hunting down those who sought to exploit the digital world. He was no longer just a cybersecurity expert. He was a guardian, a protector, a digital warrior standing watch over the digital frontier. The case of Phantom, the ghost in the machine, highlighted a simple truth often overlooked in the complex world of cybersecurity: the power of a password. It was a single, laughably simple password 123, that had granted Phantom their initial foothold, their entry point into the digital fortress. It was a stark reminder that even the most sophisticated security systems were only as strong as their weakest link, and that link was often human. Alex Turner, the digital defender who had matched wits with Phantom, knew this better than anyone. He had seen firsthand the devastating consequences of weak passwords, the ease with which they could be exploited, the damage they could inflict. He had made it his mission to educate others, to spread the gospel of strong, unique passwords, to impress upon everyone the importance of safeguarding their digital lives. He preached the virtues of complex passwords, those seemingly random strings of characters that made the difference between a secure account and a compromised one. He urged people to think beyond simple words and phrases, to embrace the chaos of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols, to create passwords that were not just memorable but virtually uncrackable. But Alex also knew that true cybersecurity went beyond the technical, beyond firewalls and intrusion detection systems. beyond lines of code and complex algorithms. It was about people. It was about understanding the human element, the psychology of deception, the art of manipulation. Phantom had excelled in this arena, preying on human weaknesses, exploiting trust, using social engineering to breach even the most secure systems. Alex realized that to truly combat cybercrime, they had to fight fire with fire. They had to educate people about phishing scams, about social engineering tactics, about the dangers of clicking on suspicious links or opening attachments from unknown senders. They had to empower people to become their own first line of defense, to be vigilant, to be skeptical, to think twice before clicking. He knew that technology could only go so far in protecting them. In the end, it was up to each individual to be aware, to be informed, to be proactive in safeguarding their digital lives. He envisioned a world where cybersecurity was not just the domain of experts like him, but a shared responsibility, a collective effort to create a safer, more secure digital world. The capture of Phantom, the ghost in the machine, was a victory, but a fleeting one. Alex knew that the battle against cybercrime was far from over. It was an ongoing war, a constant struggle between those who sought to protect and those who sought to exploit. New threats were emerging every day, more sophisticated, more insidious, more difficult to detect. The digital landscape was constantly evolving, a fluid, ever-changing battlefield. Alex embraced this challenge. He knew that the only constant in cybersecurity was change, and that to stay ahead of the curve, he had to be adaptable, to be a perpetual student of the digital world. He immersed himself in research, devoured articles and white papers, attended conferences, and engaged with other experts, always seeking to expand his knowledge, to refine his skills, to anticipate the next wave of cyber attacks. He knew that the hunt for Phantom had changed him. It had tested his limits, pushed him to the brink, forced him to confront his own vulnerabilities. But it had also made him stronger, more resilient, more determined than ever to dedicate his life to protecting the digital world from those who sought to exploit it.